by I'll call him my good friend. I hope he considers me a friend because, I really enjoy our friendship. And I'm also just so behind the mission of the Reverend Ken McCoy, his nightlife program, bringing the issues of violence and shootings to light we call it North St. Louis, but you know what? It happens in South St. Louis. It happens in North County. And you are a man who saw it as a man of God, as a minister. You found that you had to do something about it. Tell us about that.
Well, first, thank you, Jay, and I do see you as a very, very dear friend and colleague, and I appreciate you having me on. We see what we do as a ministry, and not only as a ministry but as a mandate. This was something that we just absolutely had to do, whether we had huge crowds and multitudes following us or not. It was just difficult eulogizing so many young people and giving a benediction and blessing them to go into a world that we've done, in my estimation, as a church, very little to change. So it was just a matter of living out, who we confess to be, Christians who, and Christ put us here to be agents of life. So Scripture says He came that we would have life and that more abundantly. So our position is, in that respect, we have to defend life.
Now, describe, and some of the listeners, and I've had you on before, and I've talked about it a little bit, but describe for our listeners what it is that nightlife does and what its mission is.
Well, what we do is, we're a violence interruption ministry. We don't go out looking to report crimes. Hopefully we can get to young men and young women before things escalate. And I guess the best way we could describe it, young lady who walks with us, Mary Seeger, as a ministry of presence, that just showing up, being at the right place at the right time. And fortunately, we've been able to be at the right place at the right time. More recently, I don't think you were with us this particular night, we ran into a young man in the Fountain Park area who, he was extremely high on drugs, and he had a weapon. And he'd gotten some very, very bad news, some personal news, and he was he was just really in a bad way. And he's waving the gun around, and he's talking about shooting people. Well, we basically babysat him till about 2 o'clock in the morning till he came down. We were able to get his gun from him because he either would have shot somebody or law enforcement would have been forced to shoot him. So it's just sort of being consistent and being at the right place at the right time.
Right. I describe it to people as a ministry of presence.
Right.
You go out there, and when I'm with you, we go out there, and we are there in these neighborhoods, and it says a couple of things. It says, one, somebody cares.
Right.
It says, two, if there's an issue, we would like to help if we can.
Right.
We're not out, trying to interfere.
Right.
But more importantly, it just raises the awareness that, every day there are horrible things happening in our community, and that is shooting deaths of people, kids. Recently, 2 young ladies, girls, what were they, 7 years old?
Right.
And we continue to say, and have people say, and the interim police chief say, enough is enough. This has to stop. And we all agree with that. But what are we going to do? What is our little bit of that in making it stop? And I think that's what nightlife in large part does. It's your little bit. And again, I don't call it little. I think it's a big thing. But it's what you can do and the people that join you can do right here and now to make a difference.
Right. Well. Hopefully, I believe what we do makes a difference. But I think this is one of those problems that have, it's gone unaddressed so long that I don't know that policy and programs, because there's a disconnect between those communities, those neighborhoods, and that demographic that we serve, and mainstream society. And part of what we do is we try to bridge that gap and build relationships. You know, as long as we've been walking, we're going on 3 years now, that we have very, very carefully earned the trust of a number of those individuals out there who know us by name, whom, you know, we've offered legal help to, and employment opportunities, educational opportunities, and the whole 9 yards. And so there's a bridge that has to be built, and hopefully we're part of that process.
All right. Now, you are the minister at the, I always get the name of your church wrong.
Progressive AME Zion
Progressive AME Zion Church. That's
and you've
right.
been there, Jay.
Yeah, I know. I always get the name wrong. But you're the minister there. And this is, I mean, you know, that's what you do. But this is something that you do above and beyond that. I think people say, well, you know, you're a minister. What else do you do? I don't think you ever stop being a minister. You just do more of it. And I think that's what nightlife has been for you. You know, we're going to talk more about this, but this is, where do people find out about it? Where can they follow you? Where can they get more information about what's going on with nightlife?
Well, we have a very, very active Facebook page. It's just simply called Nightlife. It's very active. And our church page, Progressive AME Zion Church, we're working now on a website. We talked to you about that some, so we'll get around to doing that. And there's access. You get access to our videos. Every night I try to do a live stream to sort of describe the night that we post most nights when we walk. So, or people could just give me a call at area code 314-766-9143.
When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about tonight, a Father's Day walk.
Okay.
And I'll be joining you, and you've organized this, and I want lots of people to come out and join us. So it's 9:35, KTRS, the Big 550, back with the Reverend Kanzler, filling in for McGraw Millhaven, joined by the Reverend Ken McCoy from the Progressive AME Zion Church. Zion.
That's right.
That's right. But more importantly, what we're here talking about today is your nightlife, and we have a Father's Day walk this evening. How is that a little bit different, and tell us how we can all get involved in what's going on tonight?
I think it's different, you know, just off the top, you know, we'll be walking a little earlier. The other thing is, not only do we want to celebrate fathers, there are, you know, just scores of fathers who really, really care about their community. And oftentimes they're looking for ways to demonstrate how much they love and care about their community, and how much they care about their children, and, you know, how serious they are about the safety of their children. So this provides for them an opportunity to demonstrate that right in the hood.
Right. You know, I'm not talking out of school here, because I've heard you talk about your son and his involvement publicly. As a father, you've seen your son go through some issues, and I think has caused you to dig in even harder on the issues. Tell us a little about that.
Well, my son a couple of years ago was shot 4 times, and the guys that were shooting at him, they were really trying to kill him. Since that time, 2 more of his friends have been shot, 1 murdered. So this has been some ongoing, what they call beef. So rather than just sit on the sidelines and just wring my hands worrying about my son, it just made sense for me to engage this violence the best way I could. And this seemed to be the most appropriate, the most logical way. I'm a man of faith. And this is something that I just have to, I'm compelled to exercise my faith.
Right.
Yeah.
Faith without action
is dead. Right.
And in many parts of our community, maybe not so much in certain, but in many parts of the community, you can't meet anyone who hasn't been touched by some of the violence that's gone on, and more than anything, the gun violence that's just got to stop.
Right, you're exactly right. And the type of weapons that these young people have access to, oftentimes they're semi-automatic, and I even understand that they're now doing, they can alter the weapons in some kind of ways to larger magazines. And they're military-grade weapons, and they just really, in my opinion, have no place in a community where there's playgrounds and schools and where our seniors live and so forth and so on. There's no place for those kinds of weapons.
We'd love to see everyone get out tonight and join us, fathers, mothers,
Right.
sisters, brothers, and really say we are uniting around
Right.
this ministry of presence and saying, you know, no more gun violence. We're not going to stop it, but we care. Tell us how we can do that. What's the Father's Day walk this evening?
Well, we're going to be at Westside Missionary Baptist Church, 4673 Page Boulevard at 7:30. And I want to take this time to thank that great pastor over there, Reverend Dr. Ronald Bobo, who also is helping organizing this. He's not just hosting it, he's an active part of it. And he'll be walking with us tonight. So what can happen is if you aren't comfortable walking, because I understand why some people are not. I'm not always comfortable walking. You can remain at the church and meditate or pray or fellowship or whatever the case may be. Support us that way. You're welcome to just come to the church. There'll be a program and there'll be activities while we're walking.
Great. That's at 7:30 tonight, Westside Baptist Church, 4673 or 75?
What is that?
4675 Page.
Okay, that's the address.
That's right. And in terms of the walk, we walk as a group. We take our time.
Right.
And sometimes people talk with us. Sometimes they don't.
Right.
Sometimes we hand out water and
Right.
some sandwiches and things to the homeless. It's really, you know, I enjoy it, one, because I think we're doing good work, but it's also an opportunity for fellowship among the people that are out walking.
Right.
And really to share
Right.
ideas and kind of
Right.
faith with one another.
Well, we've solved the world's problems.
Absolutely. I'm surprised that we even have to go out the next week after we've solved the problems that week. But the people have been amazing that have been
Right.
associated with you. And, you know, as I've been out there with you, I think I've seen 6 or 8 different news organizations from around the world
Right.
that have, you know,
Right,
heard
right,
about you.
right.
Seems like you get more publicity around the world than you do here in
Yes,
St. Louis.
it's really odd. A UK production company just completed a documentary that's on YouTube now. We've had people who come from Italy, the Netherlands, another group from the UK. A group is coming from Russia, just sort of all over the place. Spain, Mexico, you just sort of name it. So
I was out with that last group, and I don't think I've ever seen someone
I should
quite as scared as that young man was as we headed into one neighborhood.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
I've long since gotten over that. You know, I've never seen a problem. I mean, it's a little nerve-wracking at times, but the people genuinely respect you
Right.
and the group as a whole. And
Well, I think that night, Jay, it was the camera.
Yeah.
And I sort of like, man, you kind of have to put that camera up. And he tried to conceal it, but that little red dot, you know, folks saw that.
But it was just, he was quite scared. But I think to reassure people that we've never really had a problem with the people.
No.
We've come across incidents that were going on, but they weren't directed at
No,
your group.
we had one serious problem earlier when people were trying to figure out who we were. We were walking down this one particular street, and a few days after we walked down the street, it was, you know, that really, really rough street we walked down, there was a big bust. So it looked like we had something to do with it, and the guy pulled a gun on us that night and kind of followed us around, you know. So, but beyond that, there's not been anything. And that's, you know, I understand that. They didn't know who we were, and we hadn't gotten to that place of trust.
Right. And I think that level of trust is there. The homeless population that you come across, it's developed into kind of a mission for them, helping them as well. You're out there trying to be a ministry of presence related to violence and gun violence, but you can't help but interacting every moment with this population of people that are so in need in the city of St. Louis.
You can't call yourself a humane person, much less a Christian, and ignore that. It's been heart-wrenching. I remember taking one of the gentlemen to the hospital, he had, what do you call it, heart failure, congestive heart failure. And he just had so many things wrong with him. I took him to the hospital, sat up there with him, and when they discharged him, they called me, and I went to pick him up, and I had to take him back to the streets. I had nowhere to take him. That was absolutely heartbreaking.
You know, the city is attempting to address the problem, and we don't have time nor the ability at this point to talk about that.
Right.
But it is an issue out there, you know, your work again is doing a little bit towards resolving that matter. I know you spend hours making sandwiches and.
That's about 50% of my time making sandwiches.
And just getting ready so that we
Right.
can go out there and
Right.
distribute these. Tonight, 7:30 p.m., Westside Baptist Church, 4675 Page. Invite everyone to come out
Right,
and,
right.
and,
All
and walk with
welcome.
us. It's not a long walk.
Right.
People, you don't need to worry about that. And so, but encourage people. The Reverend Ken McCoy, Nightlife. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jay.
I hope to see everyone out there tonight.
Looking forward
It
to
is 9:50 KTRS, the Big